So then what's the deal? What's the issue? Why are so many people trying to be anything other than African? What is that about? I'll tell you what it's about. It's about post-traumatic slavery syndrome. It's about post-traumatic colonization syndrome. People want to be anything other than black. It is about ABBS, which is anything but black syndrome. See, growing up in the United States of America, when we, black people, would refer to other black people as black, we, because of the internalized racism that we were dealing with, use that term in a pejorative sense to be demeaning of people within our own community. And in our community, people wanted to be anything but black. We suffered from ABBS. And my suspicion is that my brothers in East Africa and other places in Africa and other places around the world are suffering from ABBS. But to the question of whether or not there were black kings in Egypt in antiquity, the answer is unequivocally yes. I want to show you the image of Pharaoh. His name was Djoser. He was a pharaoh in the third dynasty, which was 2650 to 2575 BCE. This man, even though his nose is broken, because that's the whole thing. If you look at the different images of the pharaohs, you see their noses are broken. Why? Someone is trying to hide something. I think they're trying to hide their phenotypical evidence of that broad nose, which is indicative of blackness, of Africanness. But even with the broken nose, you can tell that this guy is black. Let's look at Mentuhotep, or Mentuhotep II. He's also a pharaoh. This image is not an artistic rendering. This is an image this is the actual statue that is in the Met in New York City. If you want to go look at this guy, he's there at the Met in New York City. But Mentuhotep II was a pharaoh between 2008 and 1957 BCE. Clearly, he's black. I've heard people say, well, actually, you can't go by that because sometimes they use color to express other ideas. Well, one thing is for certain. They didn't have a negative idea or perception about blackness. Blackness was celebrated in ancient Egypt. Let's look at Queen Tiye. Queen Tiye was a queen in Egypt, in Kemet, in 1398 to 1338 BCE. She's a beautiful black woman. Again, this is not a modern day artist rendering. This is actual images that come to us from Egypt. And then on top of all of that, let's look at some of the pictures that actually appear in some of their funerary temples and some of their tombs. Look at these different images. As we close this out, these people look clearly black, clearly. And there's no dispute about it. So if they saw themselves as black, and in some instances they conveyed or they represented their gods as black, then who are we to say they weren't black? Of course they were black. But over time, as there was mingling between different nations, as there were invasions, surely there were other people that came in and ascended the throne and became pharaohs, and the actual physical look of the Egyptians changed. But what Kevin Hart said was factual. And I don't know why he was canceled. You tell me.